Hey y'all, so it has been a while since I've done a video, and it's been even longer since I did a garden tour. There just wasn't much going on, so I didn't feel like there was enough for me to do a full-fledged garden tour. But we're going to do the first one of the fall. It is pretty sad because we have not gotten any rain in about 4 weeks. I planted carrot seeds and peas 4 weeks ago. The peas are doing great. The carrots, I think 3 of them sprouted, because there's just been absolutely no moisture. And so until it starts raining and until these 90-degree temps wane, I'm just not going to try planting carrot seeds again because they need the moisture and they need lower temps, and that's just something September is not giving us this year. So let's go see the garden, and I'm going to show you how some stuff is thriving and how most stuff is not thriving because we simply need rain. Let's start with the in-ground garden because it's actually doing fairly well. 2 weeks ago, the kids and I planted all the brassicas out. They have required a lot of time with soaker hoses and sprinklers to keep them from wilting, but because I get the afternoon shade, as you'll see in a little bit, they've pretty much done perfectly fine. A little bit of wilting here and there in the afternoon, but it's pretty easy for me to keep this nice and moist even with the higher temperatures that we're having. For all of the cabbage starts that we planted, and as you'll see, they are nice and big. The ones down on the end get a little bit smaller, and I think that's just simply because you can see where that shade kind of ends, and I think these down here are doing better just because they're not experiencing as much heat for as long of a time. It's a row of collard greens. Now, collard greens can take a pretty significant amount of heat, so they are thriving and doing absolutely well. Actually, probably in about 2 weeks, we'll be able to harvest some of these smaller leaves. I harvest them on the smaller end anyway because they're just more tender and they taste better to us. So we'll probably actually start being able to harvest some of these smaller leaves. When I harvest, I just harvest by the leaf instead of harvesting the entire plant because it will continue to put leaves on as long as you leave that center head. Next row that we planted, or the next 2 rows that we planted, are broccoli, and the broccoli has actually got some type of caterpillar on it, and I have yet to witness the caterpillar. So this is something that I could spray with spinosad or BT, but that's literally, oh, there is one. So it is a little caterpillar. Let's see if I can make it focus. Anyway, that is something that we can spray with BT and spinosad, so I'll probably come back and spray that with BT and spinosad. Oh, there's a big old fuzzy caterpillar on that one. And then the final 2 rows are the cauliflower. This is the white cauliflower varieties that we planted, and these are the ones that are purple and green. These 2 rows probably aren't getting as big as the other brassicas, like I said, because they experience more sun. You can kind of see, like I said, where the shade begins. It's still producing really well. It looks a hot mess, but it's producing really well. And as the season continues, I'm going to come back in here and plant a couple rows of carrots, I know, and I'm not sure what else I'm going to plant out in this garden. I might decide to try onions in ground as well. That entire back part, if I need more space, I'm trying to let it rest for the summer garden, or spring garden, but if I need more area, I can always use that as well. Tomatoes have not enjoyed the significant amount of heat, but they did put on a pretty good amount of tomatoes, and some of them are getting nice and big. I do have a problem out here. I have what I think are mice, and I'll show you why in just a minute. You can see some there as well. There's a lot right there. That plant seems to have a ton. Unfortunately, some of those are on the ground. In a few weeks, we should get a nice harvest of tomatoes. At one point, these also had worms on them, but I just treated with BT and spinosad, and it seemed to clear it right up. I need to come back and I guess spray this entire garden with BT and spinosad. So I left all the Seminole pumpkins still growing because they were still producing pumpkins, but at some point the mice have discovered the pumpkins, and I think that they are attracting to the garden. So we are probably going to chop those the rest of the way down, and pray that they get rid of the mice, maybe even rats, whatever they are attracting to the garden. Let's go to the poor, pitiful raised bed garden and see what is going on there. I'm telling y'all, it is so sad over here. Well, 4 weeks ago, when we started the peas and the carrots, all of the peas sprouted, but only like a couple carrots sprouted, as you can see. Now this right here is actually probably a piece of a sweet potato that I left behind, and every now and then some of the vines pop up randomly, and I haven't disturbed it because I don't want to disturb any carrot seeds that might sprout, but eventually we'll have to dig those up and see how big the sweet potatoes are under the ground. And these peas are actually handling the heat very well. These butter beans were supposed to be a very fast crop, but they have taken so long. They just started filling out the pods like this week, and so we should be able, I'm gonna leave them on the vine until the pods are dried out, and then we'll harvest them as dried beans. But they should produce at least 1 meal. I mean, I only planted like this small section of them, so we can use them in soups and things. This is another sweet potato vine that has popped up. So it's just little pieces of either the vine that got left behind when I harvested them, or a little piece of potatoes that are now putting on sweet potato shoots. They're red ripper peas, and most of them have dried up and I've harvested them. And so as these seed pods dry up, I'm just going to come back and harvest them. I'm harvesting them as dried beans, and like I said, we will use these dried beans in soups and things like that. But these are pretty much done. These on the end got a later start, I think because they were shaded by what was growing on the trellis. But they, of course, they have green pods still, but as those dry out, we will harvest them as well. Here's a nice size pod. I've already harvested most of the nice size pods off the other side. At some point I made the decision to plant out some kale and some Swiss chard out here. Neither one of these really thrive in the heat, but they're doing okay as long as I keep the sprinkler on them at least once a day. So hopefully it cools off soon and they can take off and grow. If not, we'll just restart some seeds. I have some parsley started in this herb garden, and then there are some chives started over here. I don't think you can really see them. I started some dill right here that's kind of shaded by the zinnias growing around it, so it is doing okay. And then I planted a little bit of cilantro right there. You'll see those two little plants of cilantro. They're pretty shaded by the cinnamon basil, and so they should do fine. Hopefully it cools off soon, because cilantro will bolt so fast in the heat. And then we have chives started right there as well. Zinnias started in these raised beds. If you go back and look at some of my posts, you'll see where I have been making bouquets. So there's not a ton of blooms on these, but they are still producing. And then the miraculous artichokes decided to make a comeback by themselves. So I don't know if they reseeded from one of the heads that I dropped, or if they are coming back from some of the roots that were left from the ones that grew last year. But I think that there are 3. 1, 2, and then there's a third one right there. So we should have at least 3 artichoke plants this year, but I do plan on planting more of those. Quickly show what goes on this side of the yard, but it has been so hot. I wanted to show y'all kind of a fail that is happening and normalize that things die. These have been in the ground for like 2 or 3 years, and it is just so dry out here. I guess I should have ran irrigation to these, but I've never had a problem over here before. So the blueberry bushes have absolutely died. I'm hoping that they're just nice and brown, because there's still some green on these, and that they come back. The blackberries are doing fine. Of course, they thrive. But yeah, I'm really worried about these blueberries. I mean, this is the time of year that they kind of will start dying back anyway, but I'm worried because they're just so brown. And I don't know that I've ever seen blueberries get this brown. The dwarf mulberry is doing fine, that my husband says I never should plant it close to the shop. But anyway, then like I said, the blackberries are fine. I keep praying for rain and hopefully we get some soon. There's some forecasted for this week, but there has been forecasted for like the last 4 weeks, and it eventually just goes away and we don't get any rain. Some friends of ours got some yesterday on the other side of town, so hopefully we get some soon. It is kind of cloudy, but anyway, I'm praying that if y'all need rain, y'all get rain, and hopefully we get some soon as well. And hopefully these 90-degree days will officially be done next week so that we can get the rest of our fall gardens planted. We got carrots, peas to go. We have garlic and onions to start in November, and I don't know what else. Oh, we can plant lettuce. I usually wait till November to plant lettuce as well. Let me show y'all what's going on the back porch with the onions that we started though. These are the onions that we started, I think, last week together. Actually, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. But these are the onions that we started together, and most of them have sprouted. And so we're just keeping them nice and moist with the light on them. And then in November, of course, we will transplant them out. There's not any roots yet coming through the bottom. So anyway, that is the update on our onions. Going along with me today as we went through the garden, and I will see y'all next time. Hopefully the next time that I see y'all, it is much cooler and we have all had rain. Thanks for tuning in.